In this case, what we want to do is insert a function to determine the monthly payment for each house in these particular loans. So we have the cost of the house minus the down payment, which is actually the amount they financed for the loan. They will pay, for example, a certain number of years, and the annual interest rate for the loan is listed here. Okay, so they'll have 12 payments per year, which is normal. That's a monthly payment amount to pay once each year. So we'll use a payment function for this. So I'm just going to go up to the insert function button, and you can type in up here PMT and search for it, or you can just find it down here if it's already listed. So there are 3 items here that you need to complete in the function arguments box. I don't type these formulas in, I just open the dialog box for the insert function, and for me that's much easier. So the rate, it tells you down here, is the interest rate per period for the loan. Okay, so they pay per month. Okay, so a month is the period. So the annual percentage rate is 3.625 for this first one, for example. So that means that that's for the entire year. So you have to break that up per month. So the rate of interest will be this percentage, but you need to divide it by the number of months in a year, since you're going to find the interest rate per month. So then you would choose this, which is the number of payments in a year, or the number of months in a year. And then what we want to do is go into the next box and look at the NPER, which is the total number of payments for the loan. So if, for example, this first one is 25 years, that means they're going to pay 12 times every year, once for each month. So therefore, you would take the number of years and then multiply that by the number of months in a year. The present value is the amount of the loan. Okay, simple as that. It's just the amount of the loan. So the amount financed in this case is the amount of a loan. So we're going to put D9 there. So we need to go back and look at a couple of things. For this one, if we pressed enter and we copied this formula down, it will give us an error. And that's because as it copies this down from one row to the next, it's going to change the row reference. So for example, it would change this from G9 to G10 to G11. And that's okay because we want the interest rate per loan. So for this B5, which is this, if we copy the formula down, it will change that from B5 to B6 to B7 to B8 and so forth. Well, we don't want that because then it's going to start multiplying it by these other numbers and by text, and that's not going to work out. So in that case, what we want to do is make this B5 absolute. Okay, so click anywhere before or after in the middle of B5 and press F4, or on your laptop keyboard it might be a function F4, and that makes it an absolute reference. That means that reference will stay the same as you copy that formula down. So for example, the B will stay the same and the 5 will stay the same. That's why the $ is before the column and before the row. Okay, so for the NPER F9, that will be the number of years for each loan. So in that case, we do want that to change to F10, to F11, F12, and so forth as we copy that formula down. So that one is correct. We don't need to make that an absolute. It is okay to be a relative reference, meaning that it changes relative to how we copy it down. So it's going to change the row number there. So again, we have B5 here. So since we made it absolute up here, we will also need to make it absolute down here. And again, I'm just pressing function F4 or F4 on a regular keyboard to make that absolute. And again, that means that the F9 will change to F10, F11, F12, and so forth. But this B5 will stay the same, meaning that all of the years will be multiplied by 12. Okay. The present value is the amount financed. If I leave this as is, it will give me a negative number for the monthly payment amount. And Excel does that because it's an amount that's coming out of your checking account, or out of your bank account. So in order to make this positive, there are a couple of ways we can do it. You could go up here after you've pressed enter and gotten out of this dialog box. You could put a negative in front of the payment here, or most of the time people will put a negative before that loan amount, and that will mean that it will display the number as a positive number. Okay, so again, we have our relative references, G9, F9, and D9, because we want those cell references to change as we copy the formula down from one row to the next. The B5 will stay the same because we want each of those to be multiplied or divided by the number 12. Okay, so again, you can do this a couple of different ways, but I like to use the dialog box. So it's going to be the annual rate of interest, and we want to get the monthly amount, so that's going to be divided by 12. Okay, and I could have pressed OK before, but I pressed something to get me out of the dialog box, so I'll run through it again. So the NPER, number of periods in the loan, so that's the number of years. There's 12 months in a year, 12 payments. So we're going to multiply that by the 12, make that absolute. And the present value, you usually put that negative sign there so that the monthly payment amount will be a positive amount. We're just going to use the amount financed. So if I click on OK, and you can double click to copy that down, and then you can look at the cell references when you do that just to see how that copies it down.